Good morning and welcome to the fourth meeting of the Nevada Silver-Haired Forum Legislative meeting agenda. First, we will call the roll. For those members attending virtually, would you please turn on your cameras and respond when you hear your name? Thank you. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. If a member is not present, please record that member as present when he or she arrives.
Ms. Lucille Aiden, Ms. Dottie Ahrens, Ms. Joanne Bongiorno,
Present.
Mr. Jack Ginter,
Present.
Vice President Marilyn Jordan,
Present.
Ms. Lisa Laughlin,
Present.
Ms. Laura Levitt, Ms. Peggy Levitt,
Present.
Ms. Mercedes Maharis, Dr. William Marchant,
Wrong one. Present.
Ms. Terry Robertson, Mr. Fred Silberkraus, Mr. Roger Troth,
Present.
Ms. Rosie Tyler, Dr. Austin Wan,
Present. I gotta call you back.
Ms. Valerie Woods,
Present.
President Fran Alvarez.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Welcome to our audience in Las Vegas, those joining us by video conference in Carson City, and anyone listening over the internet. Members, I'd like to go over the housekeeping items shortly, but before that, I want to address one issue. Forum President Alvarez asked me if I could chair the meeting today. She is joining us over Zoom instead of in person. President Alvarez, do you have any opening remarks before we continue?
I just want to thank you very much, Dr. Jordan, for stepping in at this time. And I appreciate everything that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in August. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to go over some basic housekeeping items. Our meeting is video conference to Carson City. You can virtually participate over Zoom as well. I am asking our presenters on the Zoom video call to leave your cameras off and microphones muted until called upon for your agenda item under which you will present, or if I direct any questions to you. The Zoom video call has a chat feature. However, this feature is only to be used for technical assistance. Any links or information that you would like to share during your presentation should be stated verbally on the record. Members of the public should sign the sign-in sheet at each location, even if you do not intend to testify. When testifying, please remember to turn on your microphone and clearly state your name and the entity you represent at the beginning of your testimony. Speak directly into the microphone to ensure those listening in other locations and watching online can hear your testimony. Please remember to turn the microphone off when you have finished speaking. Each witness should provide a business card and a copy of any written materials not previously submitted to the Secretary. Meeting materials provided to forum members for this meeting can be accessed on the Forum's webpage. Individually, public copies are also available in each meeting location, and here it's on the front table. Anyone who would like to receive electronic notification of and access to the forum's agenda, meetings, and final report can do so by going to the Nevada Legislature's website and following the links. And finally, I would like to remind everyone to please silence all of your electronic devices, especially cell phones and laptops during the meeting. With that, let's get started. We will have a public comment period at the beginning and ending of the meeting. Speakers are urged to avoid repeating comments or points made by previous speakers. Any person may also submit written comments to the forum secretary during or after today's meeting. In addition to testifying in person, members of the public may provide public comment in 4 different ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. With that, we will move on to public comment. Forum members, please keep in mind that public comment is only for members of the public. We will start with public comment from those in the physical locations and then move to public comments from anyone who has called in. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to provide public comment at this time?
Good morning, Vice Chair Jordan, President Alvarez, and fellow committee members. My name for the record is Terry Laird, spelled Terrilaird. I'm the Executive Director for RPEN, the Retired Public Employees of Nevada. RPEN was created in 1976 by a small group of retired public employees and has grown to nearly 8,000 dues-paying members in 17 chapters statewide. I'm here today to thank this committee for your service in protecting the needs of retired Nevadans, especially those retirees in the Nevada Public Employees Retirement System PERS who make up RPEN. I am speaking primarily today on item 3, your presentation on elder scams and awareness from the Attorney General's office. We recognize how serious an issue this has become because many of our members have been victimized by these scams. We have highlighted this issue in our quarterly newsletter many times, but it never ceases to amaze me how many seniors still fall prey to these scams. A story was recently in the national spotlight yet again this week when a man facilitated a scam in Maryland against a few seniors who received news from him that a grandchild was in need of bail money to get out of jail. One of the oldest scams, and yet one that has continued to be used against vulnerable seniors. This person went to the victim's home after they'd contacted him that they had the cash that he asked for, and they gave it to him. Education is definitely the key to reaching seniors, but many of them who are savvy enough to use a computer are not savvy enough to know a scam when they receive one. Unfortunately, criminals seem to get better at their job because no one has been able to figure out a way to stop them. And with many petty crimes under $1,000 not being punishable, this looks to continue to be an issue. But the loss of $1,000 to a senior on a fixed income with rising inflation out of control is something they can't afford to lose. We still appreciate the efforts your committee has put forth in soliciting this report, and we look ahead to the next legislative session to hopefully see more discussion on ways to stop this victimization of one of our most vulnerable groups, seniors. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you so much. Do we have anybody else from Carson City that would like to speak at this time? Let us then move on to anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide public comment at this time. Seeing none, we will move to our broadcast and production service, PBS, and that staff will interact with those phoning in public comment and providing testimony to facilitate participation in the meeting.
Good morning. The public line is open and working, but there are no calls at this time.
PBS, please add the first caller with public comment to the meeting if you have any.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me better now? There are no callers wishing to make public comment.
Thank you so much. Seeing there are no more callers, we will get started with our first agenda item. Agenda item 3, the next agenda item will be a presentation on our state's efforts to prevent fraud, exploitation of seniors in Nevada. And our presenters will be Mr. Mark Kruger and Ms. Michelle Newman with the Nevada Attorney General's Office. Questions will be taken from the forum after the conclusion of the presentation. Mr. Kruger and Ms. Newman, you may start.
Thank you. Hello, Madam President, Dr. Jordan, members of the committee. My name is Mark Kruger, for the record. I'm a Chief Deputy Attorney General. I have my colleague here, Michelle Newman, who's a Senior Deputy Attorney General. We're pleased to be here today and to provide you with some information about what the Attorney General's office is doing regarding this very serious issue. I'm going to go ahead and start a presentation now. So what we're going to go over today a little bit is who we are, the Bureau of Consumer Protection within the Attorney General's office. Many of you probably know, but it might be nice to highlight a few things. We're going to talk a little bit about elder scams and statistics about that. And then I'm going to have my colleague go through some of the relevant elder scams that we're seeing and some tips that seniors can use to prevent being victimized by these scams. We're also going to go over some outreach and consumer education that we're doing to try to highlight some of this very serious scams. And then, of course, we're going to finish up with where to file complaints and how to get help. So, Bureau of Consumer Protection is a statutorily created division within the Attorney General's office. The mission of the Bureau of Consumer Protection is to protect Nevada consumers, businesses, and the interests of the state of Nevada through the enforcement of consumer protection laws. Now, when we look at national statistics for elder type of crimes and scams and everything else, we've partnered up with the FTC, who keeps a Consumer Sentinel network. It's been in operation for a long time. And we are also able to pull information from the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3. You probably heard of that, as well as National Council on Aging. And what we've learned is that if you look at it statistically and because our Nevada statutes define an elder person as 60 years of age and older, we're looking at 92,371 victims of elder exploitation, resulting in a total loss of $1.7 million. That's in 2021 alone. So the dollars are astronomical. The National Council on Aging similarly highlights similar types of abuse of $36.5 billion annually, and highlights the top 10 most prevalent scams targeting seniors. And you've heard some of those from our public comment, but online shopping scams, tech support scams, imposter scams, romance scams, sweepstakes scams. We're going to talk about those, or my colleague is going to a little bit today as well. Just to highlight a few numbers, I won't go into everything, but this kind of breaks it down statistically. Between ages 60 and 69, the number of fraud reports that are put into the Consumer Sentinel network, the number of fraud facts, and reporting loss, as well as a medium loss reported. And you can see that the dollar amounts are like right around $500 to $1,500. So it's small numbers done repetitively over time. And those numbers add up, and as you can tell, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars in loss. Now, when we look at Nevada-specific statistics, we look at identity theft as being one of the still today, and it's been this way for many, many years, the top scam. However, what we've seen is a huge rise in imposter scams, and we're seeing that in the tech scam world as well as other mediums, such as phone calls. We're also seeing some online shopping and negative review scams, credit bureau scams, and then there's some other ones as well that you have. This isn't an all-inclusive list, but it does highlight some of the more prevalent scams that we have in Nevada. Why are seniors targeted? Well, there's really primarily three reasons. One is that immediate funds are available, generally speaking, through retirement or savings accounts. Also, they're more likely to live alone, especially we see that in romance scams. And the final thing is there's a certain amount of pride, right? They don't want to report scams. Just like no one wants to have to stand up and say, I was victimized by a scammer. It's an embarrassing thing to have to report. So certainly understandable.
Michelle Newman for the record. I'd like to pick up and explain the various scams in a little bit more detail that Mr. Kruger just went over. You do have this presentation to read thoroughly, so I will just go over the highlights of each scam. The first is online shopping scams. It's no secret that everyone loves a deal. So scammers will offer products through fraudulent online storefronts and lure unsuspecting customers through deals that seem too good to be true. And they seem too good to be true because they are. Many of these fraudulent online stores look identical to name brand stores, or they even use a stolen logo, but that does not mean the products are legitimate. In these scams, the purchasers may not receive the product they paid for, or the product they do receive may be fake or defective. But a few tips that you can implement to protect yourself from scams like these is, first of all, to do your research. It's critical that before you purchase anything online, especially from a store that you're not familiar with, that you do your research by either seeing if the company name has complaints associated with it, or looking at Better Business Bureau website. The second is to make sure that you use a secure payment service. Scammers are going to ask you to pay with wire transfer, with gift cards, or with cryptocurrency. That is not something that a legitimate storefront would do. Tech support scams are another scams that I'd like to cover. In a tech support scam, the scammer will pretend to be a tech support specialist ready to help with a computer and electronic device issues. In this scam, the individual may be contacted in a variety of different ways. It could be through a pop-up window ad, it could be through an email, it could be through a phone call or a text message. Often these scams can be very sophisticated, where the scammer will use more than one medium to contact you to add to the legitimacy of the scam. But the whole point of a tech support scam is actually to obtain your financial information with the end goal of trying to steal money from you. So the scammer may actually just want to get remote access to your computer so they can search through your files and obtain it themselves, or they may ask you for that information over the phone. However, a few tips that you can implement to protect yourself from tech support scams is, first and foremost, do not provide financial or personal information to a tech support business that you do not know is legitimate. The other point is to not provide remote access to your computer to a business or representative without first verifying it's legitimate. It will be much more, in the end, it will be better for you if you actually take your computer, if it's having an issue, to a trusted store to fix it, rather than risk your personal information or financial loss. Next is romance scams. As a matter of fact, this one was in the news recently. Just the other day, I believe it was on Colo 8, I saw it was an article about a woman out of Alabama, a senior, who lost $430,000 through romance scams. So this scam, unfortunately, is alive and well and affecting our seniors. The scam will typically begin when the scammer reaches out through websites, through apps. It could be a dating platform, and they pretend to be either a social or a romantic interest. The key in this particular scam is that the scammer will take as much time as they need to build trust. And they often reach out to individuals who are vulnerable, maybe someone who recently was widowed or divorced. Eventually in this scam, the scammer will ask for money. That is the end goal of this scam, is to try to steal money. However, a few tips that you could implement here is first and foremost, do not trust anyone that's not willing to meet you in person or that's going to avoid video calls, and never give out personal payment information to someone who you have met online. If someone attempts to isolate you from friends and family, then you want to be wary. Next is identity theft. I won't go into this in great deal because we generally know what this is. Identity theft can occur through phone, text, mail, email, and the whole point of identity theft is the scammer will obtain your personal information so that they could pretend to be you, either online or at a physical store. A few tips that you can implement to protect yourself from identity theft is to periodically ask for copies of your credit report and review it carefully. It's important that you use secure passwords for your internet accounts and that you don't write all of your account information or all of your passwords down in one place, because that just makes it easy for someone to steal. Imposter scams is another one that Mr. Kruger mentioned. An imposter scam is basically the opposite of identity theft. In an imposter scam, the scammer pretends to be someone else, especially someone who's in authority or someone that you can trust. We see imposter scams in a variety of different industries. It includes utility companies, trusted government entities, or even your employer. The scammer will contact the individual by phone, text, email, or a social media website, and the most common imposter scams targeting seniors include government impersonators, the grandparents or family scam, and utility scams. One that I would like to mention in particular is the government imposter scam. In this scam, the scammer will say that he or she is with the IRS or Social Security information or even local law enforcement. They'll attempt to intimidate the senior to giving money or sensitive personal information. They could contact you in a variety of different mediums, phone, text, online, or regular mail, and the scammer will use either urgency or threats in order to obtain the information that they're looking for. A few tips to implement to protect yourself from government imposter scams include just knowing that authentic government entities will be respectful and will not use scare tactics. And government entities will contact you through writing. They're not going to call you on the phone and threaten you. Another tip is if someone is suspicious, they should hang up and not engage with the caller. It's more important to go talk to trusted friends and family about what is happening, and especially call the government entity through a different number than what the scammer gives you. And lastly, sweepstakes scams. This scam will begin with an email, a text, a phone call, thanking you and saying congratulations that you won the lottery or some type of contest. However, this scam is easily identifiable because the scammer will also ask you for money in exchange for winning the contest. And that, if someone does that, then you can know that it's most certainly a scam. A few tips to protect yourself from the sweepstakes scams is to avoid providing your bank account information or sending money through the internet or over the phone, and avoid purchasing gift cards and sending them if that's the other way that they try to ask for money, and to know that government agencies will not call you offering any type of prize. Lastly, I'd like to go over some social media dangers and just a couple of tips. More and more people are using social media to engage with family and friends. It's how we stay connected with our loved ones. However, what we don't always realize is the information that we post online, whether it be the whereabouts, the location, scammers also access that information and they track your lifestyle, they track your pattern. If you're posting on there saying, I'm going on vacation, unfortunately, not only do your friends and family know that, but scammers can know that as well. So it's very important to be cognizant about the location data you're sharing, family members, just your routine, just information that you put out in the world, because others besides your loved ones will use that information as well. The best thing that you could do is to spend some time exploring privacy controls and even considering limiting your friends and family list so that you are only sharing information with people that you trust.
Mark Kruger for the record again. So when we talk about online tips for seniors, that it's really good to make strong passwords, keep those passwords somewhere safe and not with other passwords if you can. Also, be very cautious about giving out personal or financial information unless you know it's an actual verified business. And also, one of the things we've really seen is this advancement in scammers sending out text messages, emails, and having links contained in those, and making a sense of urgency. And we see that repetitively over and over again. Urgently, you have to click on here because your bank account's been compromised. So really that is a scam, and that link can lead to obtaining information from you or having you talk to somebody who isn't from the bank or from some other sender, whoever that might be. What we have noticed is that when you get something like that and there's this sense of urgency, our recommendation is to pause. Just pause. Take a look at that and think to yourself, is there truly a sense of urgency? That will give you the time to be able to think, okay, maybe I should just independently call the bank, or maybe I should independently call this business about my account, rather than quickly checking on the email or text message that you received. One of the reasons that we went through these scams today is because it highlights how important it is to get the education out there to particularly seniors, but all consumers, about different scams. The reason for this is because if you can maximize the awareness and you know that something could be a scam, you are not likely to fall susceptible to being conned by that scam. And that is the number one way we can prevent scams from occurring in the first place. So that's why we spend a lot of time doing presentations and outreach to try to educate as many people and consumers in Nevada, especially seniors, about these types of scams. We've produced brochures, we've updated our website, we have our link there where you can really go in, and we have videos on there, a lot of information, as much as we can put, and we have it in an easy to read format where it identifies the scam and then provides a simple tip. It's not, unfortunately, scammers have perfected and they continue to perfect their scams. So we're seeing slight variations in these scams that are occurring from time to time, and all we can do is go back to the basics. Pause, take a look at it, and think about whether or not there's truly some urgency behind this, and then go forward. One of the important things you can also do is file a complaint. It doesn't mean that we always are going to be able to identify the scammers, especially when they're done electronically. However, we have had some success in the past. We also know that in particular, sometimes the FBI's IC3 can track down scammers. You have to report soon, though. That's the key. If you can get your report into IC3 right away, they might have some success. No guarantees, but there is a possibility. In addition, you can file a complaint with our Attorney General's office, and I've put the link there as well. Federal Trade Commission also takes complaints, and the nice thing about filing a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission is it goes into the Consumer Sentinel Network. Now, when you do file a complaint with our office as well, we do report into the Consumer Sentinel Network. So that was when we started this presentation, those earlier slides about where those statistics came from for Nevada, that's from the Consumer Sentinel Network. And I've provided also the Internet Crime Compliance Center, IC33's complaint website as well. In addition to this, you can Google these and find them pretty easily online. With that, we'll close and entertain any questions that you all might have.
Thank you so much. For the record, my name is Marilyn Jordan. I have a question in reference to trying to understand if there's a direct phone number. I see that you have a lot of material that has to be done on the computer, but many of our seniors don't have access to the computer, or, and some of our senior centers are even just in their personal homes. And so is there any way that we could have a phone number that would communicate how to or what to do in case someone's scammed at home?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Jordan. Mark Kruger for the record. That's a great question, and yes, we do have a phone number. We actually have an 800 toll-free number for our office, and we are getting that right now for you.
I think that's so critical because we have so many seniors who answer the telephones daily and are scammed and don't know what to do. So we need to know what to do for next steps, and I thank you for that.
Mark Kruger for the record, you're absolutely correct. I think it's an excellent point, and as soon as Ms. Newman finds that number, we'll make sure to put it in there. We should have put it in our in our slide deck, and it certainly will do so in the future.
Madam Chair.
Are there questions from the forum members at this time?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Joanne Bongiorno, and I'd like to ask a question. This is something that happened to me very recently, and I did forward it on to Carson City. Mark Kruger and Ms. Newman, I happen to like to listen to talk shows. And while listening to one that has been on the air here for many, many, many years, I entered a contest. And lo and behold, I never win anything, but I won several tickets, they said. So they turned me back to the screener of the show, which asked me several questions, what my full name was, how it's being spelled, my email, etc. And then when he got to my birthday, I asked him, why is that necessary that you have my birthday? He said, well, it's part of, the procedure, etc. I hesitated, but I did give it to him. I didn't receive anything, but several days later in my email, there was a notice that said, in order to receive these tickets that I won, I must complete the information, being my name again, very personal information, including my Social Security number. That's when the flag went up. And I did contact them. We went back and forth, and they said no, that was necessary in order for me to receive my tickets. Now, I don't fault the radio station exactly, because I realize that this is part of maybe their advertising, or it comes from the advertising department. But in giving them my birthday and then my Social Security number and et cetera, and the rest of the information, they would have full data of selling that information on the dark web, where somebody could, as you say, steal my identity. Needless to say, I did not do it. I did not give them their Social Security. It's not worth it to me because I won 2 tickets to an upcoming event. But I think that's something that should be looked into, because that's certainly different. And if you're not astute enough, because they got part of the information with the initial screener and then part that they would get from me. So, and I know that's happening on many radio stations. They offer prizes and et cetera if you're the 3rd caller or the 10th caller, whatever. But I don't know, have you encountered that before?
Thank you for the question, Mark Kruger for the record. Before I get to answering your question, I just want to make sure we put that toll-free number up so that anyone who is listening later on or wants to get that number can find it. It's 888-434-9989. Again, 888-434-9989. And that's a phone number, a toll-free number for the Bureau of Consumer Protection. Thank you again for your question. I'm glad that you did not get scammed and that you were astute enough to realize that what that individual was doing was very meticulously gathering what we call PII, or personal identifying information. As you can tell, and you've pointed out by your example, the more pieces of PII that an individual scammer can get from an individual, the more likelihood they have to be able to either do identity theft or one of the other scams we've talked about. Basically, take your money. And that's usually the goal, but there's also oftentimes other nefarious intent behind it. Most of the time it has related to being able to take possessions or money from you. So we do look into things like that, and when we get complaints, it may be something similar to a radio station having and I believe you're correct that it's probably an advertiser that put something up. Sometimes they're very bold, these scammers, and they'll be right up there. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a lot of companies, and we now see it in the banks, but legitimate storefronts that are big box store retailers, that their names and actual logos are being manipulated into scam type emails and text messages so that they pop up so that you really think it's legitimately that national bank or local bank or credit union or a box retailer, and they will try to get information from you that way. Now that's not exactly on point with what you're talking about, but when we do get complaints, we will reach out to, say, that radio station, and we'll identify it for them and let them know, hey, you are what I call a tertiary victim of a scam. In other words, they're using your likeness and identity or your radio station to perpetrate their scams. And we've had very, very good success working with our retailers and other industry groups to be able to take down fake and misleading and fraudulent websites and things of that nature. So we're doing the best we can. So the best advice we can give is to get the information out there about putting in complaints, and also to educate our consumers, especially our seniors, about how to first avoid it, as you did.
Do we have other questions at this time from our forum members?
Mercedes Maharis? Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Harris, please move forward.
Yes. I would like to ask Mark, and thank you for your wonderful presentation. Insurance companies are giving me bids now because I feel like my own insurance company for many years has been gouging me. I drive probably 5 miles a week now if I go to the grocery every week, which I don't now. And so I wanted to get my car insurance down. So you fill out these things online, and then the insurance companies start calling you. But how do you know that they're insurance? And just like Joanne, I balked at giving my social security number. I didn't want to give my birth date either, but I did. But how do you know that the calls are coming from the real insurance companies? I won't name names, but it does make one feel insecure as a senior.
Mark Kruger, for the record, thank you for that observation. That's correct. It's very difficult to know who's on the other end of the telephone when you receive a call. Now, you started an inquiry to try to, shop quotes for insurance, and that, if you left some information for someone to call you back, then there might be a likelihood that they are calling you back. However, you don't truly know. The best way to do it is just tell the caller, hey, I need to verify that I'm calling the right person. I'm going to hang up and call back. But don't call back the number they give you. Call back the number from a trusted source. If you know a legitimate website, or you have an existing relationship with them, in other words, they're your insurance carrier, and you have a bill, that you can find the number and call that number back. That's the best way to make sure that you are talking to the correct person. I also wanted to highlight on personal identifying information, there's been a lot of movement and a lot of changes to Nevada's law to make our data privacy more secure. So and you brought this up because about many companies will get information of their consumers that actually have a relationship with them, a business relationship, and they will be able to sell that information to someone else. We have opt-out provisions in Nevada law now, and the ability to not allow your information to be sold. So you will see that when you're on the website about people collecting information from you. You're able to change what information they're collecting, and you're also able to, with any company that you have a relationship with, direct whether or not your information should be sold or not. So that's another piece of helpful legislation that's out there.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Alvarez?
Good morning, and thank you very much for this presentation, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and present for the forum. My question is, other than the law that you just spoke about, are there other laws on the Nevada NRS that directly apply to scamming, like phone scammers, or anything that if we are scammed, there would be recourse?
Mark Kruger for the record. Thank you for the question, President. Yes, there are laws on the books, and the Nevada Deceptive Trade Practices Act is one of the most used act by the Bureau of Consumer Protection, but it can also be used individually as a private right of action, and has been. That is found in NRS Chapter 598. In addition to that, I might as well reference the data privacy law, which is found in NRS Chapter 603A. So we're constantly reviewing that. We made some excellent changes this last legislative session to NRS Chapter 598, which will help us be able to protect consumers even more.
Ms. Laughlin?
Thank you very much. I have a few comments and then several questions. I just want to clarify on the phone number that you gave us, that 888 number. The issue I have, I know how to forward text to the scam number, but all the phone calls that I get that are, hi, this is Amazon and we need to complete your Apple order, which I didn't make. I can't figure out how to turn in those numbers at all. So that's one question. If you can clarify that for me. The other is, for some reason, I thought Social Security numbers were not required as much anymore. And I'm curious if there is some legislation around that. Like, I refuse to put it on my doctor's office. I know they use that for collection purposes, but I won't put it basically anywhere. I'm trying to figure out why we're still even using that as an identifier, because it is such a critical piece of information to have. I even had to turn it in. Actually, I refused to turn them in for a travel insurance claim. Everybody wants your Social Security number. Third comment would be, how do we get from an opt-in, an opt-out to an opt-in on Nevada law? Because those things come in the mail or they send you an email. You can opt out, click here, do this, call here. It takes the consumer a lot of work to opt out. So I don't know if that's something we can address. And then my final question is, how could we maybe possibly partner with doctors' offices? We know seniors, that's a place they are pretty regularly. At the end of my mom's life, she used to say, I have too many doctor's appointments this week. It was a constant thing. With some of the prevention materials to maybe get them handed out there, because the doctors are a trusted source. And then if, the government agency is bringing that in, perhaps there could be some key phone numbers, key highlights of scams, just a thought. I mean, I'm 61 in a week. And, I get a little excited when I get those texts or whatever that kind of get your blood going, and you want, the idea is to immediately react. So I don't know what I'm going to be like at 85. Anyway, that's a whole bunch of thoughts on the topic.
Mark Kruger for the record. Thank you for all of those thoughts. And I'll take them out of order if you don't mind, but I wanted to start with the partnership with the doctor's office. I think that's an excellent suggestion, one that I think we could probably pursue. We've, through our opioids litigation, have developed a very good rapport with our medical board, state medical board. So that has given me the idea, while I sit here today, to reach out to the state medical board and see if we can do something along those lines. Going back to the beginning, you had asked about primarily how to turn in these electronic scam type text messages and emails. There isn't an easy way to do it yet. It is something that my colleagues and I have been working on, talking about how we can get the tech implemented in our office. Part of it is a resource issue, but the other part is just getting the technology up to speed to be able to accept some sort of electronic file where somebody could just forward these scam numbers. It's a great idea, and it's one that's been talked about. We just don't have the technology yet, but we are looking into it. Then going on to Social Security numbers, I really don't have the answer to that question. It has been a question in my mind for a long time. There's a lot of information on the internet about why the United States continues to use Social Security numbers as one of the primary identifying information. And you're right, it's not only a primary identifying information for uses that become financial, where you apply for a bank account or a credit card or something like that, but it's also used in other areas like insurance and other claims, your doctor's office, things of that nature. So I don't have the answer for you, unfortunately, on that, but it's something certainly that at this forum could make recommendations to the legislature about potential laws surrounding that. Excellent thoughts, though, because it's an important point to highlight. Going back to I think the last thing that you had on your list here was the opt-in to the PII. I don't have an answer for that other than the fact that our legislation for data protection has come a long way. There are certainly some other states that have a little bit stronger, but then there's a lot of states who have weaker laws. There's also currently now federal legislation looking at data privacy and the impact that would have on the states. We're still evaluating that. The legislation is still in the works and hasn't been adopted. I think that just over time, as legislation develops, this was a method by which technology was moving forward, and the legislative bodies thought this was good legislation to move forward. Certainly, there are the mindset that maybe perhaps it should be all restrictive the other way. I don't have the answer because I'm not in your all seats, and I'm not one of the legislators who are actually be considering these laws. But I do, and I am grateful that we actually have legislation in place that does allow some protection of PII, because that it's very important, especially as technology advances and businesses are able to utilize that technological information. I hope those answers all of your points and questions.
That does. And if you end up doing something with the medical community, and if the local county associations can help in any way, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not as involved now, but I was with the Washoe County Medical Alliance, which used to be called Doctors' Wives. Now, obviously there's men. None of them the groups aren't as active as they used to be, but there are a lot of communications that go out that way too. So if we could get those doctors' offices on board and maybe even get the alliance groups helping, that could be good.
Mark Kruger, for the record, thank you, I will.
Thank you so much. Once again, are there any additional questions from forum members? Seeing that there are no additional questions, we will close this discussion. We want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Kruger and Ms. Newman for your very informative presentation. We so appreciate your hard work and all that you're doing on behalf of seniors. We will now move to the next agenda item number 4. We will now have Ms. Cheyenne Pasquale with the Aging and Disability Services Division present an overview of programs available to her department and the Department of Health and Human Services to help seniors connect with resources in the community. Ms. Pasquale, you're free to begin.
Good morning, and thank you, members of the forum, for having me. My name is Cheyenne Pasquale, for the record, and I'm with the Nevada Aging and Disability Services Division. I'm here today to talk to you about Nevada's No Wrong Door system, specifically our Nevada 211 and Nevada Care Connection system. The next presenter, my understanding, is from one of our local community partners, and he will be going more in depth about Nevada Care Connection. But this will be sort of a broad overview of Nevada 211. What do we mean by no wrong door? What is resource and service navigation? Opportunities that we have identified for future efforts, and then how to get connected to our systems. So when we talk about what is no wrong door, federally, it's defined as a high-functioning system that ensures that it's a visible, trusted network. There's a person-centered approach to informed decision-making, that we are working together to streamline access to programs and services, coordinating programs and services, and that we are continually improving and developing the system. In terms of No Wrong Door system, there are 3 goals. The first is to raise awareness of where to go for help. The second is to support people in identifying options for programs and services that meet their long-term care goals. And finally, to help facilitate access to programs and services of an individual's choice. The No Wrong Door is intended to be a coordinated network of partners that support these goals. In Nevada, we call this network Nevada Care Connection. Within Nevada Care Connection, our current focus is on Nevada 211, which is the state's information and referral service. A service that we call Resource and Service Navigation, which provides one-on-one assistance to explore options for services. We also provide veterans-directed services through a VA through a partnership with the VA, and to provide ongoing outreach to promote awareness of Nevada 211 and Nevada Care Connection. As we look towards the future and opportunities to expand capacity to help individuals navigate resources, we are looking at establishing the administrative oversight of the Nevada Care Connection to include multiple state agencies and stakeholders. We're looking to invest in IT infrastructure to streamline sharing of information and helping to facilitate connecting with public programs. We are looking to expand capacity for resource and service navigation, increase Nevada 211 resources to ensure the database is up to date and comprehensive. And we are looking to create aging and disability regional coordinators to serve as a liaison between the community, healthcare partners, and state agencies. The focus of these regional coordinators is on partnerships and the development of budget and policy recommendations from a public health perspective. So let's talk a little bit more about Nevada 211. Nevada 211 was established in NRS 232 to provide non-emergency information and referrals to the general public concerning the health, welfare, human, and social services provided by public or private entities in the state. Nevada 211 provides information and referral through the telephone, website, text, and most recently through 2 new apps. They also provide non-emergency assistance during disasters and emergencies. It's important to note that Nevada 211 is not a creator of resources, rather it's a collection of resources in the state. The Nevada 211 goals are to ensure that people are connected, that they have access to accurate and comprehensive information and are connected to available resources. Want to make sure that programs are equipped. Health and human service programs are connected to available community resources to support service delivery. To ensure that Nevada 211 is prepared and ready to quickly assist in the event of a disaster or an emergency, and that Nevada 211 is sustainable. It has the infrastructure, resources, and support to ensure long-term sustainability. Some of the challenges that Nevada 211 faces is the maintenance of the resource directory. There is A need for Nevada 211 to do more outreach to get programs and services to add their information to the resource directory. In addition, there is constant outreach and efforts to ensure that the programs and services that are added to the directory are keeping their information up to date. And then managing the taxonomy. So as a AIRS accredited organization, there's a complex taxonomy that goes behind the resource directory, and ensuring that programs and services are in those proper categories so that they can easily be found is one of the ongoing maintenance efforts. When we look at utilization of 211, it really comes down to outreach and education and to help avoid duplication of efforts. It's a key, the outreach and education is really a key to Nevada 211's success, not only in terms of maintenance of the resource directory, but in terms of the utilization, as I stated. In January, Nevada 211 was able to launch a statewide outreach campaign, which includes radio, television, and social media ads, as well as media interviews. To date, there have been over 3,500 radio and TV spots, and Nevada 211 has seen an increase of approximately 25% in call volume over the same time period last year when there was not a campaign. These efforts also help to reduce duplication. Over the years, various communities and organizations have repeatedly attempted to duplicate 211 efforts, particularly in terms of creating a resource directory. While Nevada 211 cannot be all things to all people, we have found that there is often opportunities to collaborate and share resources. And whenever we have these opportunities to do outreach and education, they become vital opportunities for us to identify areas where we can collaborate and build partnerships. Some key statistics from Nevada 211. In fiscal year 2021, the Nevada 211 team fielded over 108,000 calls, 4,900 texts, and 3,600 live chats. The top referral categories were housing and shelter, utility assistance, and food. To date, the Nevada 211 database contains a listing of over 1,191 agencies, over 4,000 programs, with services being offered in 2,300 different sites. Now let's talk a little bit about resource and service navigation. So what is resource and service navigation? This is a service that goes beyond information and referral. It's one-on-one assistance or short-term case management to provide unbiased information to individuals and families about the programs and services that exist to meet their needs and their goals. Resource and service navigation supports informed decisions about long-term care and helps to facilitate access to public programs. At the core of resource and service navigation is supporting an individual's choice and control in their long-term care. We put the person at the center of planning. And eligibility for resource and service navigation is any individual or family member looking for assistance with long-term services and supports. So resource navigators support individuals in identifying goals and needs, exploring options to meet those goals, identifying resources that are available to the individual. This can include public programs, informal supports, private pay options, kind of the whole gamut of services. It also, resource navigators also help individuals develop a plan to access the programs and services that will help meet their needs and their goals. They provide direct assistance in navigating the system by helping to determine if pre-eligibility for public programs, if that's a choice that they would like to apply for. They can assist individuals in filling out applications. They work closely with family caregivers to help connect them with respite and other caregiver support services. And we also offer long-term case management that is specifically today targeted to individuals with dementia or memory loss or individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, or speech impaired. In state fiscal year 2021, over 3,200 consumers received resource and service navigation. Of that, about 37% of those individuals were Medicaid eligible. So you can see the vast majority of the individuals we are serving are in that, what we call the gap population. So they maybe don't necessarily qualify for Medicaid, but maybe don't have all the personal resources to get the services and care that they need. There were over 27,000 units of service provided in state fiscal year 21. A unit of service is 15 minutes, so that averages out to about 2.25 hours per consumer, providing that assistance and that one-on-one support. As we look towards the future, our opportunities include expanding capacity for resource and service navigation. We are in the midst of developing a training and certification program for resource navigators. And we are looking towards the future of really building that network of partners. We know that there are multiple existing access points, and being able to better coordinate and offer this training and certification to those access points is one of our goals. As I mentioned previously, we are looking at investments in our IT infrastructure, not only to coordinate systems to facilitate eligibility determinations for our public programs, such as our waiver programs, but also creating systems that can facilitate online referrals, whether that's a self-referral from an individual or a family, or referrals between agencies. And then most importantly, looking at ways that we can share some data that's collected to help tell the story of the needs and the gaps and the services that are being provided through our network. I mentioned also at the beginning that we are looking to establish the Aging and Disability Regional Coordinators. These coordinators will serve as a liaison between the community, healthcare partners, and state agencies. They will provide outreach and education related to ADSD programs and services, bridge the gap between social and health systems, and help coordinate local partners. In short, our focus with the regional coordinators is really a focus on partnerships to assist in the development of budget and policy recommendations from a public health perspective. In terms of getting connected to Nevada 211, you can dial 211, or there's an 800 number. You can visit the Nevada 211 website. You can text Nevada 211, and then there is also a Nevada 211 app, and most recently there was an app that's geared towards youth launched. For resource and service navigation, you can call 211 and ask for your local Nevada Care Connection Resource Center, or you can visit our website, nevadacareconnection.org. And I will open it up to questions, and the last slide has my contact information.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pasquale. We appreciate this presentation that you prepared for the forum, and we so much appreciate your being here this morning. Are there any questions from forum members? Again, are there any questions? Mr. Troth?
I'm going to have a few. On your slide that has key statistics, at the bottom there you have the 211 database. And agencies, are those all government agencies, or what do you mean by agencies? Let's start there.
Those are government agencies or primarily nonprofit organizations.
Okay. And do you guys have a vetting process for who those are?
Yes, there is inclusion and exclusion criteria, and one of the requirements of the AIRS accreditation is that each agency has to fill out an application to be included in the database.
Okay. Oh, thanks. That's good. Bill, the next slide. What is the resource and service navigation? Are all those state employees?
No. Currently, resource and service navigation is offered through community partners. So as ADSD subawards funding to local community organizations, and they are partners to ADSD.
And that goes through the same thing, they have to apply to do that, and you vet who they are?
Yes, there's a competitive application process that occurs every 2 years.
Okay, and then can you give us an idea of kind of where those offices and the locations are and how accessible those are to the public?
Sure. So in Southern Nevada, we have 2 partners. It's Nevada Senior Services, which is on Jones Boulevard, and Jewish Family Services is our other partner, and I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden where they are. And then we have offices in Reno, Access to Healthcare Network. They actually have offices in Reno and Elko, and then Lyon County Human Services.
Okay. Next slide. So you work with, this would include the capability to get in contact with any of the state services, the health, because we've had a couple different briefings on, home care people and all those kind of things. So this 211 program and these navigators understand what those are and can get people in the right direction with all the agencies?
Yes, that is one of our key components of resource and service navigation is helping individuals explore all the options that exist to meet their needs. And then if they need assistance with the application processes, the navigators will assist with that.
And they also have touch points with the county and city operations as well?
That is correct.
Awesome. Thank you. One more on the next on opportunities. When you talk about IT investment in infrastructure, are you talking that, I'm going to assume, and just clarify, that means you need more servers and people to expand that capability?
I think it's a little bit of both, but it comes down to a variety of resources. I can tell you we've recently been exploring what other states have been doing around their IT infrastructure, and one of the model states that has a very robust online referral system, they went through a comprehensive assessment of the systems that currently exist in the state, and then were able to build something that helped to connect those systems. That was a $10 million investment for them. Okay. So we have applied for a federal grant that would allow us the opportunity to bring in a consultant to do that assessment of our existing IT infrastructure to help us plan for what we would need going forward.
Okay, so you've asked, for grants for that. Does the department statewide have its own some money to work with that in their set budget, and or do you need to continue to work with the legislature to get you more funds? I know that's kind of a loaded question.
We continually do work with the legislature to invest in IT infrastructure.
Okay, that's fair. And then the last one, and I'll be quiet. On the regional coordinators, that does not exist now?
It does not. We are hoping that they will be approved in the August IFC, and then if they are, we will launch those in January of 2023.
Can you give us an idea of what kind of numbers you're looking at, and is it geographical or?
Our ultimate goal is to have at least 5 regional coordinators. Our initial launch is going to be with 3 regional coordinators. And they will be unclassified positions of the state. And we will do a regional coordinator for the I'll have to get back to you
No,
on the
that's
defined
fair.
regions.
So they'll be regional, obviously reflect the areas of population and requirements and needs.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Appreciate the good presentation.
The chair recognizes Ms. Levitt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Peggy Levitt, for the record. I just wanted to ask you when this program was established, because I was on the board of a senior center for many years, and today's the first time I've ever heard of it.
So Nevada Care Connection was actually launched in 2005 under the term Aging and Disability Resource Centers. We've gone through a metamorphosis, and I would say the brand Nevada Care Connection is probably about 5 years old. And then Nevada 211, I don't remember when that was launched off the top of my head, but I want to say it was around 2005 also. I'll have to confirm that.
Excuse me. I think the outreach that you've talked about is very important, because I think it's significant that I volunteered and worked at the senior center for many years and never have heard about this. Secondly, to follow up on what Mr. Troth asked, I think it's also important that, if I understood your answer correctly, that people who are already in homes or receiving services can also use this service, because it was quite alarming to hear that people who are in homes, sometimes if there isn't a complaint made, there isn't any inspection of these homes that are housing senior citizens. There's no inspection for 6 years. So what could, it could be a horrible situation and nobody would know about it. So I think it's very important that you continue to get the information out if these services are available.
Cheyenne Pasquale for the record, and I would agree. Outreach is one of those things that we do when extra funding becomes available. But we fully recognize the value in that outreach and really the need to do it on an ongoing basis. But it comes down to a resource issue. Do we spend resources to do outreach, or do we spend resources to have people to provide this service? And so we often will do outreach when extra funding becomes available.
Well, I can see how that's a catch-22, but people can't access the service if they don't know about it.
That is true.
So, thank you.
Dr. Wan?
Yeah, I just
You
want
had
to
a
amplify
question?
what you just recently said. Because your first point is the big picture is first you have the awareness, options, and access. So you've got to make sure that there are people who are aware of this, and the people that worked in senior citizens before weren't even aware of this program. So I think the first thing is you really have to make much more awareness of your program, which is, you've got great facilities, great thoughts, great plans, but if people aren't aware of it, they're not going to access it. And so the big picture, I think I think you really should start emphasize that first. Get funding, whatever you need to do to get the word out.
Thank you.
Forum members, do we have any other questions? Mr. Troth?
Sorry, I had a follow-up now that was mentioned. When you do you do training with different organizations, don't you, to expose them to what your capabilities are? What kind of people or organizations do you try to provide that to, and what is just an idea of what the overall capability of that training is? Thank you.
Cheyenne Pasquale for the record. So training happens in a few different ways. We have an initiative right now that we are working with the University of Nevada, Reno on to do training to medical providers about Nevada Care Connection. We also, our community partners take part in a variety of events in their local communities to get the word out about Nevada Care Connection. We have the opportunity right now to also do training internally to our other state agencies and state systems. So we're starting that effort with our team. So, and then as we launch the training and certification program, it will really be training with natural entry points. So senior centers, family resource centers, community health workers, others in that realm to help promote and promote the Nevada Care Connection Network and hopefully get people to join that network.
For members, do we have any other questions?
Madam Chair, Lisa Laughlin for the record. I guess it's a comment along the same lines. I was actually on the app while you were talking because I was curious, so I decided to search it, see how to find it. And there's a lot of really great information on there. And again, I'm trying to think of places where there's just access. I know we don't like to print paper anymore, but I personally think it works because you can take it home and leave it at home. And if you got it at a trusted place, it works. I'm thinking hospital interactions is a great place for a flyer on Nevada 211 and the app link. Thinking outside the box, less in terms of paid media and more in terms of who are our community partners, like you're saying, to distribute the information, because this is actually not just information for seniors, it's information for anyone in Nevada. So I think it's a great little app, actually. We just have to figure out how to get that information out through trusted resources. Thank you for your presentation.
Cheyenne, for the record, thank you for those suggestions.
Madam Chair. This is Joanne Bongiorno for the record. Whether this or not pertaining exactly, excuse me, exactly to what we're talking about now, but some years ago, I really wanted to initiate something whereby our seniors can go to a site and gather any data or all data pertaining to the things that were available to them. Some years ago, we also had from, I think it was Nevada Power, that issued a book called The Royal Pages. And in that, we were able to find any phone number connected with the various services, whether it was transportation or whether it was, 211. And what they did, it was a quick sort of information area. When something happens in your family, and maybe you haven't, the seniors are not astute enough to be involved in the community, etc., they don't know where to turn. So what I had done at that time is taken the information I got from the Nevada Power, and was called the Royal Pages, and we put it on a disc, because I found that so many people, when they get ill or something, don't know where to turn, and they turn towards a church. So I tried to distribute this on a CD to the churches and asked them sort of to pay it forward, because it became just cost, prohibitive. But I wish we had one data bank that would service everything that that individual needed to know, and a phone number that they could contact for whatever service it may be that they would need. Is that a possibility? Thank you.
Cheyenne Pasquale for the record. And I think that's the ultimate goal with resource and service navigation. So our navigators are that individual that can help people look at all the different programs and services and informal supports that exist to support their needs. We do have a website that tries on a broad scale, and we have a project actually we're doing some revamping of the website that would help people explore options. In terms of printed materials, because I know I still like printed materials as well. There are some inherent challenges with that, and what we have done is started to look at some guides and resources that we can print that are more population specific. So several years ago, we published a dementia roadmap that provided some guidance and resources to individuals and families that have been diagnosed with dementia, and to kind of guide them through the different stages of living with dementia and some of the considerations and things to think about. I think there's opportunities to do that for caregivers, for individuals that have newly acquired disabilities, for families with children of disabilities. So I think those are all things that are a possibility. Again, comes down to resources.
Yes, I do know that in several other states that they do have a website, as I was speaking of. Maybe we can look into that and and try to formulate what we would do here, because they've been successful with this. As I said, it was then called the Royal Pages, and I don't know what it is now because I've been out of it a sort. So I think we should look into that and have one website that is like a diction, I should say like a phone book, that would give us the phone numbers and et cetera for the various services that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, do we have any additional questions from the forum members? Yes.
Val Woods for the records. I just want to respond to the last suggestion. The Royal Pages are still active, at least they are in Clark County. I just looked it up and it's been updated for 2022 through 2023 for the record. Because of where I work and I work with a lot of seniors, I do use this as a community resource Bible myself. And I have found it to be very, very helpful from anything a senior needs. So just for the record that it is still active. And I don't know how often it's updated or how the agencies are access or how they are, if there's an application or what have you, but it is a valued resource. Thank you.
Again, do we have any additional questions? Ms. Aden?
Yes, I do have a question. I'd like to know, how does individual agencies, private agencies operate? Because I still have a problem with one of the care homes. It's a smaller care home, 3 people, and they're not being treated right. And the social worker told her that they will investigate it after she moves out or find another place. She had an incident where she fell, and there was no one to get her up. What they did was put a blanket and a pillow over her, and she had to lay on the floor. And I think that was absolutely humane. So I don't know what we do or can do to help with situations like that in private homes. There's only 3 people in the home. And the person that runs the home is the manager at one of the pharmacies. So I think that is absolutely unacceptable. So what can we do in homes like that when patients are being mistreated?
Cheyenne Pasquale for the record. Unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that question, but I could consult with our long-term care ombudsman program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no more questions, we would once again want to thank Ms. Pasquale for her presence here this morning, her wonderful presentation, and we will now continue with agenda item number 5. We will receive a presentation from Ms. Jennifer Ruiz with Nevada Senior Services. She will offer a presentation on Nevada Senior Services as a Nevada Care Connection Resource Center and how they can help seniors navigate information and resources in Southern Nevada. Ms.
Good
Ruiz, you can
morning.
begin. Good morning. Thank you
Hello,
for being
yes,
here.
thank you so much for having me. So I would like to just start by saying, who I am. So like you mentioned, my name is Jennifer Ruiz, and I am the health educator and outreach coordinator for Nevada Senior Services. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Nevada Senior Services, we are a nonprofit organization, and we provide compassionate care and services to adults with disabilities and their caregivers facing challenges of chronic diseases, disabilities, and aging in the community in order to stay in their homes. That is our main goal. Now, we do have services and programs, like I mentioned, for adults with disabilities, seniors, and their caregivers. Some of these include respite care, hospital to home, which means coming home from the hospital, and they need, case managers and caseworkers to help them with that. We have home modifications, we have wellness programs, we have medical examinations, and we have case management as well. Now, one of the programs that we offer is Nevada Care Connection. So I am going to pull up a slide here, and I can go into a little bit more detail about that. Okay. So as stated before, Nevada Care Connection is a resource that helps meet the needs of seniors, those living with disabilities, veterans, families, and caregivers, regardless of income or age, by accessing long-term services and supports available in the community. As mentioned before, there are 5 resource centers, 2 of which are in Southern Nevada, one of which is of Nevada Senior Services, where I work, and then Jewish Family Service. The other ones, as mentioned before, are in Nye County, Lincoln County, and I'm not sure how you guys look at it, but for instance, I do Clark County, I do Mesquite, Esmeralda, Lincoln County. So we do some rural areas as well. So exactly what do they do? So their mission for the resource navigators is to streamline access to these services and ensure that Nevadans receive the individualized care that they get their individualized care and meet their needs. So our purpose is to assist our clients to access the right services to help them remain independent and in their home. So our specific department at Nevada Senior Services consists of bilingual resource service navigators and case managers that are trained to provide individuals with guidance in making informed decisions. So the service is guided by the individual, and this will include a personal interview, action steps towards a goal, and then quality assurance, and definitely follow-up. So service resource navigators, they utilize the person-centered approach model. And this model is about doing things with people rather than to them, for them to create a plan based on the individual and family members' needs, preferences, values, and strengths. So during this application process, we offer information about services available in the community, which can include benefits counseling, caregiver support, consumer advocacy, housing assistance, respite care, and also financial assistance. So again, like I mentioned before, so I work with Nevada Senior Services, and we have our own programs and services. But if there's something that we don't personally offer, we will refer them to our Nevada Care Connection Resource Center with our resource service navigators, and they will look out into the community and see if they can find any resources there for them, help them with the application process, and stay with them until they have met that need that they are seeking. So how does this work? So we ask that our partners, there's a couple ways they can go to our website, and this will take about 15 to 20 minutes. And it includes client demographics, a record of their activities of daily living and instrumental activities of daily living as well. If the client is only requesting a telephone number, the intake coordinator will provide that. But during that first initial call, the intake coordinators are trained to offer further assistance, saying they call for food security. We can go ahead and help them with a food pantry or some type of long-term food assistance. But if they also hear that they're saying they're struggling with, utility bills, or they need some kind of legal service, they will let them know and refer them over to a resource service navigator. And again, once the client has been handed over to the resource service navigator, the navigator will offer a wider range of support to help the individual identify needs, goals, and explore their options. So again, this is a person-centered approach. So we work with the client where they're at. And then navigators help individuals navigate the complex system by providing services that include, but are not limited to, the application assistance process, predetermining eligibility for programs, home and community-based care options, housing, SNAP applications, Medicaid, transportation, pretty much anything for themselves and caregivers as well. Then if they do need case management, they will be transferred over to a case manager, and obviously they will be with them longer. Like I mentioned before, if someone's just calling in for a certain number and they can take it from there, then that's where it will end. But if they do need further assistance, they will be assigned a case manager. And then how do they refer? They can go over to the Nevada Care Connection online. We also have a number depending on the county that they're in, so they can always call, and I have some numbers here for everybody to see. I can always post that somewhere else as well. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. Again, like I mentioned, I'm with Nevada Senior Services as their health educator and outreach coordinator. So since we have 5 different locations, I am the only outreach coordinator right now out of those 5 that I'm aware of for Nevada Senior Services. And I go to senior living communities, hospitals, senior centers, community centers, human service offices, senior health fairs. I go to hospice centers. I go to senior, law firms. And that's how I do my outreach and try to get the word out. I do have to say that I've been here for a year and many places have not heard of these services, which is definitely unfortunate. But I do think that having more outreach coordinators will benefit everybody in the long run. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Ms. Ruiz, thank you for the work that you do in Southern Nevada. We really appreciate it. We know that you have a lot on your plate, and we appreciate so much what you're doing for our seniors. Forum members, do we have any questions? Again, do we have any questions? Seeing that we have no questions, we thank so much. We thank Ms. Ruiz so much for coming this morning, and again, we appreciate her work. At this time, we will take a 10-minute break for the forum members. Thank you so much. Forum members, thank you very much. We are now going to address agenda item number 6. Agenda item 6 will be a presentation for representatives with the Division of Welfare Supportive Services of the Department of Health and Human Services. They will share information about state and federal programs available to assist seniors with paying utility bills. I would like to welcome Ms. Cantrell and Ms. Wortman Meshberger. Please feel free to begin.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Kelly Cantrell, and I am the Deputy Administrator with the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. And I have with me Maria Wortman Meshberger, who is the Chief of Employment and Support Services, who's really our division subject matter expert on the Energy Assistance Program. So today we're going to discuss we're going to do a little introduction to the Energy Assistance Program. Then we will cover details of the program. And then we'll take a few minutes to talk about our forthcoming water and sewer program, which we estimate to be fully up and running before the end of this year. So the Energy Assistance Program provides supplemental payments to assist qualifying low-income Nevadans with the cost of home energy. Applications for the program could be submitted any time year-round, and eligible households receive an annual one-time benefit, usually paid directly to their energy providers. The maximum benefit amount for the program is $3,136, and the minimum benefit is down to $240. Now, if a member of the household is disabled or a child under 6 or a member 60 and older, that cap grows by $100 for those households. So we'll take a few minutes and talk about the components of the Energy Assistance Program. There's 3 major components or specialized areas here, and the first one is crisis intervention. Crisis intervention assists qualifying households that have chronic or long-term illnesses that have to pay out-of-pocket medical expenses and whose income is actually over the 150% of poverty. We look at the qualifying medical expenses and we use those to reduce the household's countable income, trying to get the countable income under the 150% of poverty to try and help them with eligibility for the program. The expenses that we allow are unreimbursed medical expenses for medical emergencies or long-term chronic medical conditions, which also includes expenses paid by credit card, as long as the expense is only allowed once. Also unreimbursed compulsory or necessary home repairs, unreimbursed automobile repairs, only if the transportation is needed on an ongoing basis to get someone to and from medical appointments. The repairs have to be critical to the vehicle, and the only car, it has to be also on the only car in the household. So if there's multiple vehicles, that may not be taken into consideration. Regular maintenance on the vehicle also would not be taken into consideration, something like tires, oil changes, etc. Unreimbursed mileage can be covered or can be looked at if it's over 100 miles per round trip to a medical treatment. They would have to provide valid, verifiable documentation, so that we would need medical statements, so statements from the physician to substantiate the request. The next component we have that we'll talk about is Fast Track. And the Fast Track basically provides expedited application processing to qualified households whose energy source is in danger of being interrupted. So in order to qualify for Fast Track, an individual couldn't have received a Fast Track in the previous program year or a rearage assistance, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, in the past 5 years. They also have to meet all the regular eligibility requirements for energy assistance. And so some of the criteria are the household has to have received a 48-hour disconnect notice from their heating or electric provider, or their service has been disconnected. or if they have less than 10% of their heating fuel in their tank, if they need a deposit to establish service, if they have an energy crisis that causes a life-threatening situation, and the household has paid at least $25 on their utility bill during the 60 days prior to the emergency, and has requested a payment plan, and the payment plan has been denied. They also, if they've established a payment plan but cannot meet the terms of agreement, they can be considered. And to consider a household income reduction, the household must have experienced an unexpected event a reasonable person would not have anticipated or planned for, that causes a loss or reduction or a emergency expense. So EAP eligibility. To be eligible for EAP, the household has to meet the minimum qualifications. So some of those qualifications are Nevada residency. They have to meet the citizenship criteria. They have to have income that does not exceed 150% of the federal poverty level. And the household must be responsible for paying their home energy costs. So an example of the income limit would be for a 4-person household, the income could be $3,468.75. So let's talk about statistics. So through April of this year, the Energy Assistance Program has served 14,155 applicants so far, with the average benefit amount, or with the average arrear amount being $921. Processing timeframes for households with a member that has a disabled member or child under 6, or a household member over 60 is 30 days. And processing timeframes for any other household type would be 60 days. So we're going to take a few minutes and talk about our forthcoming water program. The Water and Sewer Assistance Program will assist low-income households with their water and wastewater costs. The program is funded through the Consolidated Appropriations Act and the American Rescue Plan Act. And those funds must be expended by September 30th of 2023. And at this time, the federal government has not approved any additional funds to continue the program past that date. The eligibility requirements are very similar to energy assistance. The federal program priorities are the restoration of services, households with pending disconnection of services, households seeking help with their current bills. And some of the differences between the two programs are households, if they're eligible for energy assistance, they're categorically or automatically eligible for the water program if they've had that energy assistance within the program year. A household does not have to apply, the household does have to apply for the water and sewer program, and they have to have water and or wastewater expenses. The energy assistance application is just basically going to be updated to allow people to apply for the water and sewer program right on that application. Unlike energy assistance, there's no option to provide a benefit to the household directly. The benefit must be paid to the vendor itself. In the water and sewer program, there are limited options for paying benefits to rental households due to the federal regulation. But also in water, TANF income is not counted for eligibility or benefit calculation. To apply for either program, a household can submit an application at the Energy Assistance or DWSS, so any welfare office, through email, fax, the mail, at approximately 40 total intake sites across the state. Applications are available online. They do have to be completed and then sent in. However, we don't have online capability at this time yet, but we're hoping. So in essence, that's the nuts and bolts of our energy assistance and water program. And so we would be happy to take any questions you might have.
Ms. Cantrell and Ms. Wortman-Meshberger, thank you for your time and for sharing information about these important resources. For members, do you have comments or questions at this time?
Madam Chair, can you tell me what the income poverty level is?
So I have Marie, Ms. Wortman-Meshberger can look for more limits, but for a 4-person household, we know that it's $3,468.75, but Maria can give us some more of the tier, like for 1-person and 2-person.
Good afternoon, Maria Wortman-Meshberger for the record. No one can exceed 150% of the federal poverty level. So that is our poverty level. And if you would like our income chart, or if there's one you're specifically looking for, I can let you know what that is.
Yes, that would be very nice.
We would appreciate that. Mr. Troth, you had a question?
Yeah, Roger Trotham, Senate District 18. First question, does Nevada 211 navigate to the EAP program? Do I make sense there?
I'm going to defer to Ms. Wortman-Meshberger on that one.
I have to be completely honest. I have not gone to the 211 site to look up the Energy Assistance Program. I'm assuming that it is. I do know that we are attached to the Nevada Energy or NV Energy. We are on their website, and that connects directly back to ours.
Oh, sorry, Mike. Where does the money come from for the subsidies that are used?
Maria Wortman-Meshberger for the record. The Energy Assistance Program is funded through the LIHEAP federal dollars that we receive, as well as the Universal Energy Charge, which is taken from bills that for Universal Energy Charge vendors. And so something like on the Nevada or your Nevada energy bill, you may see where it says Universal Energy Charge. Those funds do come through our program, and we distribute it to the low-income households found eligible.
Okay, so it's a combination of federal monies and consumer, I guess, a tax that comes with your energy bill. And that's driven by the Nevada legislation, how much that money is on your bill. Is that fair?
Yes, the UEC charge is in NRS, and the PUC regulates.
The last question. You have on the EAP stats there, the money. Can you tell us, do you have at your disposal there, what the total amount was for maybe like 2021 or the total amount for so far in 2022? You have an average there, but how much money has been expended a total? Does that make sense, my question?
Maria Wortman-Meshberger for the record. In state fiscal year 21, we expended approximately $23.6 million for benefits, and we are projected, and we will expend more. At this point, we have expended, hold on just one moment, for program year 22, we have expended, I believe, around 19 million.
Thank you. That's good. I appreciate that.
Ms. Levitt?
Peggy Levitt for the record. I'm just curious, in Boulder City, we have a program called Emergency Aid, which is funded by donations and grants to help people with this type of service if they can't pay their utility bills. So would they be eligible for this program if they have access to this other service in Boulder City.
Yes, they would potentially be eligible if they met the guidelines.
Thank you.
Dr. Wan?
Thank you. For the record, Austin Wan from District 9. I might have missed it, but there are also sewer services that are separate from water services. Are those charges eligible for relief too?
Yes, in what will be the Water and Sewer Assistance Program, individuals could be eligible for water and or sewer.
Thank you.
This is Joanne Bongiorno for the record, District 7. In Henderson, Nevada, the water and sewer bill are in one, included. It is not separate, as could be in, I believe, Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
So Maria Wortman-Meshberger for the record. Yes, if some water and sewer vendors or water vendors across the state, some only provide water service, some do provide both water and sewer, and we allow that. So if it's all in one bill, that is okay.
Again, Joanne Bongiorno for the record. Does that include the water reclamation? Excuse me.
So if it is for the wastewater, it most likely would be eligible for the program if all other criteria are met. And the vendors do have to sign a vendor agreement for us to be eligible to receive those benefits on behalf of their customers.
Ms. Laughlin?
Going back to thank you, first of all, for your presentation. And then going back to the earlier question about the 211 app, which I'm having fun looking at, actually. What would the exact link be if it were linked back on Nevada 211? I'm seeing a lot of on here, like Clark County, Henderson, North Las Vegas, then specific smaller resource programs, but it could be, 5 pages in here. What would be the link? Because it would be nice to have the state link, maybe at the top.
The Energy Assistance Program is administered by the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. So it is on our website at dwss.nv.gov.
Okay, so yes, I see it, but all right, it's here. I was just curious if that's it, because there's a whole bunch there. Sometimes I think some of our issue is that we word things funny. If we just said Nevada State Assistance link number 1 or whatever, but I do see it here. It's just buried a little bit. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions at this time? Since I do not see any hands, I assume that we have no additional questions. I would like to thank Ms. Cantrell once again and Ms. Wortman-Meshberger for their presentation. If there are any additional questions or information that you would like to share, please feel free to get back to us. At this time, we're going to close this item and move to agenda number 7, which would be our facilitators report. Our wonderful facilitator, Ms. Lucille Aden, will present on behalf of the forum facilitators what's going on up in the north. Ms. Aden.
Good morning, everyone. There is not too much going on in the north because the COVID rate has risen in Washoe County. So the nursing homes are all on precautions, and a lot of them are not letting the public in. it's getting bad again, the situation. So we have not done much in the north, the north, because of the COVID situation, only by telephone. I have several friends who are in nursing homes, and I've called because I can't visit them. But I've gotten reports from several of the smaller nursing homes about the conditions that's there. So that is going to be looked at, and we're working on solving that problem and see what the situation is. It's not good. So that's all the information I have. I don't have anyone from the forum that's working with me on this project, so it's just me, and that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Ms. Aden, you're just there by yourself, but you have the support of all of us, and we thank you so much.
Yes.
You know, anytime you need to help, you need additional help, please feel free to call any one of us because we're available to support you. At this time, we'd like to address the fact that we're excusing Rosie Tyler for her report today. And we'd like to move on at this time, if there are no additional questions, to our final topic, Agenda Item 8, Implications of 2021 Redistricting for Forum Membership. And our presenter will be Mr. Patrick Ashton. Mr. Ashton, you can begin.
Thank you, Vice President Jordan. For the record, Patrick Ashton, Principal Policy Analyst with the Research Division of the Legislative Council Bureau. Just my usual disclaimer, as nonpartisan legislative staff, I cannot advocate for nor oppose any of the proposals that may come before you. Members, in your meeting packets, you will find under Agenda Item 8 a handout called 2021 Redistricting and its implications for the forum's membership. You can find an electronic copy on the forum's website as well. As you know, the Nevada Legislature completes redistricting for Nevada's districts, including the state Senate, every 10 years. For redistricting, the legislature uses data from the United States Census. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the 2020 census data was not delivered in time to complete redistricting during the regular legislative session last year. Therefore, the legislature met for a special session in the fall of 2021 and completed redistricting. Several forum members noticed that due to redistricting, their state Senate district changed, meaning without moving to a new home, certain forum members reside now in a new Senate district and their nominating senator changed as well. So just a reminder how forum members are appointed to the forum. A senator shall nominate a person who meets the requirements for appointment to the forum, and the Legislative Commission shall appoint 21 members to the forum, each of whom serves for a 2-year term. So subsequently to this inquiry from certain forum members, President Almaraz asked LCB staff to research and present on any implications for the forum membership of members who reside now in a new state Senate district due to redistricting. LCB staff prepared a table with 7 members affected by redistricting that you can find in the handout that I referred to at the beginning of my presentation. The table shows the members' names, term expiration, old Senate district, and the new district they reside in now. You may ask, what does the change of the state Senate district mean for these 7 members? And I will highlight 2 important implications. First, forum members affected by redistricting can serve to the end of the current term, which is either in October or December of 2023. Second, forum members can be nominated for reappointment to the forum by the senator of their new Senate district once the term expires. Now let me give you some more background. To be eligible for appointment as a member to the forum, a person must have been a registered voter in the senatorial district of the senator who nominated the member for 3 years immediately preceding his or her appointment, pursuant to subsection 2 of NRS 427A 340. However, with redistricting, this 3-year period is basically measured as if the new Senate district always existed. That is, if a forum member's district has changed because of redistricting, the forum member is eligible to be nominated for reappointment by the senator representing that new district. For example, Dr. Marchant will be in the new Senate District 12, and so long as he has lived within the boundaries of new Senate District 12 for 3 years, he is eligible to be nominated for reappointment by the senator representing the new Senate District 12 in 2023. There is the possibility that 2 current forum members now reside in the same Senate district due to redistricting. This does not affect their current terms or membership. However, the senator of this district must choose one person to be nominated for reappointment if both forum members want to be on the forum again for another term. To conclude, forum members affected by redistricting may serve their respective terms until they expire. After their term expiration, they may be nominated for reappointment to the forum by the senator of their new districts. Vice President Jordan, this concludes my presentation. Brian Fernley, the forum's legal counsel, and I are ready for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Mr. Ashton, Principal Policy Analyst with the Research Division of the Legislative Council Bureau, we, as always, thank you for sharing this information. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Ashton at this time? Questions? Thank you so much, Mr. Ashton. We look forward to seeing you in the very near future. With that, we will move to public comment. Agenda item number 9, public comment. We will start with public comment from those in the physical locations and then move to public comment from anyone who has a call-in. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to provide public comment at this time?
The only public, this is Lucille from Reno. The only public comment I have in rushing to my meeting today, I got a ticket, so that's why I was late.
Bless your sweetheart. Drive. I won't ask you how you got the ticket, but be careful. We need you. Is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide public comment at this time? Seeing and hearing none, we will move to BPS staff. Please add the first caller with public comment to the meeting if you have any.
The public line is open and working, but there are still no callers for public comment.
Thank you so much. Seeing that we have no comment at this time, we will ask for comments from members before we adjourn. This is a forum members. Do we have any questions, concerns? We will ask our president if she has anything she would like to share with us before we close for the afternoon.
Thank
Ms.
you
Alvarez?
so much, Dr. Jordan. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. I just wanted to ask everyone in this interim before our August meeting, because that will be our work session for our BDR. Please think about the presentations we have had. If there is anything that you can bring to the work session that you think would make a good BDR, something, a law that you would like to see enacted. That's what we'll be working on in August. And again, thank you, Dr. Jordan, for conducting this meeting. Thank you to our staff, and thank you all forum members.
You're very welcome, and we look forward to seeing you again in August. Again, are there any other comments from our forum members before we adjourn?
Yeah, could you just repeat the August date?
Dr. Wan, are you speaking?
Yes, for the record, Austin Wan, District 9. I've forgotten the date for our August meeting.
For the record, Patrick Ashton, the date for the August meeting is August 11th at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Again, are there any other questions? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned.